Today in our readings, we have to look at the reading of Deuteronomy first in order to understand the gospel. And we see in the reading of Deuteronomy that Moses was there proclaiming that a prophet will come. And it's not just a prophet, it is the prophet. We know that it is Jesus Christ, and it's to hear the voice and to surrender to it. Surrender is a key theme for us today. And then in our gospel, we hear that they were astonished at the teachings of Jesus. This is a word that we read over very quickly, but Jesus was in the temple and they were astonished at his teaching. Not that he had authority because he was a scribe or a priest. It was because of his authenticity, because of his genuineness, because of the way that he spoke about truth. And it was infectious, and you know that someone is genuine when you speak to them, or you know if they're lying through their front teeth, right? We are able to pick up on it. But the thing that we look at today in these readings is really to surrender to authority. Now, authority has a negative connotation in our country. We don't like authority, right? We want to have our own authority. But if you think about it, the way that we live, the more we try to do it on our own in our way, the more we fall and fall and fall. I think about when I was younger, right? I would always try and do it my way, or say to my parents, "You don't understand," or "You're not my boss," which really worked over well at home. But the way that we see as life goes on, I realize I have become my mother and my father in everything that I do. And the people that I work for who taught me how to work, I've learned everything from them, even though those things that I thought were wrong are actually ways that help me to truly live. It's that surrender. It's not that I have to be in charge all the time. Sometimes the real act to be in charge is to surrender. And I'm reminded of a former teacher at Marin Catholic, who I'm actually the godfather to her son now. And she was doing everything right. She taught theology. She loved it. She was the most genuine, happy person and loved it so much. But yet, life was conflicting because she was on her third child and everything was so difficult as far as being able to spend time. And they made the decision to move away. Now, please don't move away. We need people in California who believe, okay? But the beautiful thing is, they discerned that she had to, and this is the line that we came up with, do less to be more. Do less to be more. And so she's at home now. Her husband is working. They moved to Florida, and they're loving life because of the simplicity of it. They're spending more time in prayer. They're spending more time eating at home rather than rushing to get food because the kids simply need to eat. They're dining rather than eating. They're spending more time in prayer. And you can hear when I speak to her, the levity. They're just present to each other even more so. And ultimately, that's what this call is for us today. We see in the gospel that Jesus sees the man who had an unclean spirit, and he has the authority, and he says, "Quiet, come out of him." But if you think about it, someone with an unclean spirit is someone who's distracted and not able to focus on the Lord. They're not able to worship properly. And if you think about it, how distracted are we all the time? I know at my work at MC, it's always, what's next? What's the block that's next? What do I have to grade? What do we have to do next? What's the next assignment, right? We're always worried, what's next? But I had some wonderful advice when I was ordained a priest. I went to confession right before because I wanted to make sure I was my heart was in a good state. And I won't tell you what I confessed, but I will tell you what the penance was. The priest said, every person that you come in contact today, be present to them. This day is not about you. It was such a wonderful penance to give, and it's actually become a theme, if you will, for my priesthood and my life. And if you think about it, that's what the gospel is all about when we surrender to this moment. We surrender to God. We surrender to the person who's in front of us. One of the most challenging parts of being a priest is when you stand outside after and people say, "Father, do you have a minute?" A minute is never a minute. And it's never a simple question, and it's something that takes a lot, right? But it's a beautiful thing. Those wonderful interruptions that we can have in our life, we're called to be present to because God is giving us this moment to actually minister to Him in that person. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, I ask you to think about today, how can we truly be present? How do we surrender to the authority? We surrender to the authority of God, that he is in control. The commandments set us free. They are good for us, and we know that life is more peaceful when we do it. But ultimately, we want to do less to be more. We know that when life gets complicated, we simply want it to be simplified. But our relationship with Jesus Christ is just like this gospel. We all have unclean spirits, if you will, at times. Things that are distracting, sins in our life, family situations, people need of healing, all those things. But yet, the less we do, or the simple acts that we do, we can be more. Sometimes we just need someone to listen to us, or we need to be that person to listen to them, or to hold their hand. Or when we come to Mass, it's simply, I need a moment of silence in order to receive the love that he has for us. So when we look at all that we do in this week, let us try to do less to be more, because that's who God calls us to be. As you know, I give homework in my homilies, and I ask that as you have difficult meetings this week or difficult conversations with someone, that we pray that prayer that I received as my penance. Let me be present to this person and not worry about what is next. Ultimately, when we're truly present, what does that do? It leads us to holiness. Holiness is we're set apart from other people, set apart in order to see God and to live in a way that brings peace to us and to them. It's that joyful witness that we want to be able to celebrate. But it's really in the simplicity of calming down, calming our heart, and being present to whoever is in front of us. But ultimately, especially in Holy Mass today, is that Christ in the Eucharist is present to us. Let us be present to him.